I never thought of myself as an artist or even an author. I never thought I would write a book. This is my second book. The first one was on intimacy, called Intimacy Is. It's also on Amazon, and this will be on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles and so forth in October. You know, I recently came across an episode on YouTube, a video from an awesome coach who is really a relationship coach, or a masculine, feminine Jedi, if you will, Alison Armstrong. If you are not familiar with Alison Armstrong, please look her up. She is the most humble, loving, wise human woman being there is when it comes to the masculine feminine relationship dynamic, and how she explains it, and how she respects and celebrates both masculine, feminine. Incredible. Just a great sensibility. So that's Alison Armstrong for you. She was talking about how men thrive when there is single focus, right? As men, and I know it's a generalization, and I know people can get bent out of shape and say, well, that's not true. Some women also, thrive single focus. Yes, but scientific studies clearly show that it is mostly men who need single focus, who are not great at multitasking. And it made me think, because if single focus is peace for a man, when he can focus on a project and really dive in, then any distraction, and Alison was talking about how if then a partner, in this case a woman, the wife, comes in and distracts the man, while he's what we call hyper-focused, so single focused on his project, that distraction rips the man out of that focus. And that focus is needed. That intention and focus is needed to manifest things in life. That's what manifests things in life, is attention. So it's a problem when we can't pay attention to the things that matter to us, because then we cannot manifest projects, ideas, people, things in life. I know I'm getting metaphysical here, but it literally is focus and intention that will manifest something in life. So if a man is continuously distracted from the single focus that he needs in order to be at peace, in the flow, to create something, then distractions are a problem. And this is how it relates to ADHD. So the majority of ADHD cases, numbers, are male or boys, right? Yes, there's women and there's some form of underdiagnosis and all that stuff, yes, but the majority are still boys, meaning masculine, or men, right, if we will. So because they'll grow up to be men, adults, and they do need to single focus to really feel at peace, to have intention and manifest something in life. But if they're distracted, that's not going to happen. So the frustration a lot of people with ADHD have, we're talking about boys or men here, is that if they're distracted, they can't intentionally focus and manifest, right? So people complain, they're like, oh, I'm so frustrated, my ADHD, and da, 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 da. Ultimately, there's a deeper frustration at the level of soul, that they know, like, I can't manifest the life that I want to have. I'm always distracted. So that's where my movement comes in, ADHD is Over. If you haven't checked it out, this book is the one I just finished. It's coming out in October, called ADHD is Over. The struggle is real. The label is not. Obviously, slightly tongue-in-cheek, clickbaity. The label is not. Of course, it's real, because we made it up and we made it a reality. But it can be changed. Whereas the struggles are real with people. That's really what we can go off of, right? I always say it's not that I don't believe in ADHD. I just know that the struggles are real and we can work there. We don't need to label and we don't need to medicate. You can if you want to, but more in the book. Lots of great information, scientific studies, interviews, also my life story with my own son, Kai, who's now almost 17. This has been a 10-year journey. So I'm here to say that really focus is important. Obviously, we all know that's why people who say they have this thing called ADHD, they want focus. So, in other words, we're all agreeing there. But what I'm saying is the distractions of the world take us out of that moment where we could be focusing. So, how do we reduce that? Well, distractions are stress. Stress is like it could be anything from the school a child goes to the nutrition, media exposure, food dyes, right? Everything matters in the environment because it all stresses a human being's system. And the reaction of that child then is seen as acting out or, you know, a symptom of hyperactivity or in some cases oppositional defiance disorder. Basically, we're labeling these kids who are simply acting out like charades. They're like, I'm not comfortable in this situation, I'm stressed, right? Hey guys, Tanjil and Cool Edits, thanks for joining. I'm rambling today. I usually ramble because I have information that comes out, but yeah, it's really about, you know, the world, like we need to slow down. This is my I've gotten recently. It's like slow the fuck down because I've been going fast. 55 years of my life, I've been going so fast. I've definitely had things fall through the cracks, like not dotting my I's and crossing my T's, as they say. And I'm now picking up the pieces, you know, after a divorce, after some business failures and all that stuff. I'm not blaming myself, but I see how by going slow and or slowing down, I can be present to the details. I can be aware of what's happening, what I like and don't like, when I need to say yes or no, when I need to set a boundary or state my needs, right? When I create a protective layer in my life, slowing down. I get to be grateful, have gratitude, right? For my health, my kids, where I live, the weather, all the things I can be grateful for. So slowing down is really the way to get there. It's hard to slow down though in a world that's so fast and so loud. That's the issue we're having. I have lots of people who are just burnt out, overwhelmed. You know, things go so fast. AI is here. You could say all these chat GPT and Grok and all these AIs who are helping us process things faster or get information faster. We're actually speeding it up even more. Now, it's good to have that at our fingertips, but we then try to get more work done faster. And I see a problem there because it's the grind, right? It's like this hustle culture who is like, do more, don't sleep, uh, self-made, millionaire, billionaire, keep like go, 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 go. And it's so loud and so frenetic that of course inside of that energy, we do need some kind of external substance to calm us down or to help us stay awake, or you know, so we turn to caffeine and stimulants and ADHD drugs and SRIs, and like of course in that world medication helps you to stay in it, but the question is, do you really feel aligned staying in that fast-paced crazy world? No, I didn't. So I moved to a slower paced life, if you will, not world, but you know, there's the fast lane and there's the slow lane, and I'm getting into the slow lane and I'm realizing it's so much more peaceful, so much more fun, and so much more rewarding. So it's kind of like slowing down actually is the ultimate benefit, right? Meditation, hikes in nature, yoga, breath work, eating slower. I mean, I could go on and on. I had a great podcast guest on, Carl Honore, who has a book called The Praise of Slowness. And he talks about it. We talked about it on my podcast, how we need to slow down. Like all the things that are happening in the world that are so out of control are because we're going so fast and we're so fearful of messing up, or of fear of death, or fear of not mattering in the world, fear of not being loved, right? All these things that we're just rushing past because somewhere we heard that if you are successful and make a lot of money and if you're famous, all these things go away. You now matter. You now feel love. You feel like, you know, happy. No. It's just not how it is. I've talked to hundreds of successful people. I have friends who are millionaires. I don't have any friends that are billionaires, although I know have friends that are millionaires and no billionaires. And there's always worry about money. The more you have, the more you worry. And there's always still feeling like an imposter, like they don't have enough or they're not doing a good job. So all I'm saying is what we've heard that is going to fulfill us in the long term is not. That's a carrot on a stick. It's just a carrot, right? It's not even a nice ice cream sundae. It's a carrot. Now, carrots are good for you, but you get the idea. Tanjil, and how you are doing that, slowing down life. Are you asking me, and how am I doing that, slowing down life? If you are, just put a question mark, but I'm going to start that. And how are you doing? Yeah. And so, great question. For me, it's like stop caffeine, get good sleep, spend less time on screens. I don't watch the news. Anything that gets me into like an anxiety, kind of fearful state, a little bit of like, ooh, the world is in bad shape. What's going on? Any of that frenetic, anxious energy, I say no to. Okay, cool. Thank you. And thanks for being here. I do lots of hikes in nature. I meditate every morning. I have a little deck out back and I light some incense. And, for some people that might be too foo-foo or whatever works for you, right? But I meditate, I slow down. I take on less, whether it's work or activities, or I try not to multitask too much. The fear is going to come up of like, well, nothing's going to get done. Am I still going to make money? Am I still going to have a job? All that stuff. Most of the time, people who slow down finally realize they're in the wrong job. They're not loving their job. You may say, well, but then I have a job. I need to make money. It's like, I get it. But at some point, you got to make the move, right? At some point, and that's what I did. I went from being in real estate, commercial real estate. I'm getting back to coaching people, writing my books, my podcast, ADHD is Over. I'm transitioning, and it's not easy because I have kids and I have bills. But at some point, my coach said, you got to make your creative expression, and creative not meaning you have to be an artist, but just like the way you express yourself, whatever that is creatively, you have to make that more important than your bank balance. And what he meant is, sure, you got to pay the bills and do whatever it takes, but you got to put more energy into your creativity and what you love. And I love doing this. I love podcasting. Today, I recorded 2 podcasts. I uploaded 2. I scheduled 2. I had 2 interviews that were requested of me. There was this energy where I was just like, I can do this for 16 hours. And then I got to go to sleep. But my point being, when you're clicked into your passion, you're still excited, inspired, and you're fulfilled, but it doesn't feel fast and crazy and is not anxiety fueled. It's more inspiration fueled. And so it feels slower, and your nervous system is calm, right? Whatever it takes to calm a human being's system. If you have friends, for example, that's another thing. I try to stay away from friends that are always worried and anxious and gossip and all that stuff. That's not energy that I want. So slowing down is also like evaluating. It's almost like it happens as a result of it too. Like when you slow down, you evaluate your friends. Is this friend really good for me? Do they inspire me? Do they light me up? Do I go home feeling good about myself in the world, or do I feel weird? Or, so when you slow down, you get to see those things. And when you slow down, you get to say no to things that if you slow down and check in, I call it real-time emotional processing. Let's say you invite me to a party with some people and my system says, oh, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't really like the vibe of those people. But if you say yes, because you're not trying to be the one party pooper, or you're trying to look good, or you're trying to please someone, you've just missed an opportunity to slow down and go, you know what, that doesn't feel good, so I'm going to say no. And even if hey, Sandra, welcome. Even if your friend says, oh, come on, you got to go, and it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Don't abandon yourself in that moment. Say, actually, yeah, I'm gonna pass on this party. Thanks for inviting me, but it just doesn't feel good to me to be there. That's it. When you slow down, you can do that. But I used to just say yes to everything. And I know there's philosophy of like be a yes person, life brings you things, say yes to everything, but that's a metaphor. You don't say yes to everything. You have to check in with yourself. Like, wow, does this, in other words, you say yes to the things that feel good to you, but you have to check in with your own system. And you and I, and most of us as kids, we weren't raised to do that. You know, our parents didn't know better. They didn't raise us to go like, how do you feel about that? Take a moment, like, see how, like, does this feel good or not, right? It was always like, you have to do this. Kids don't speak at the table, whatever it was, right? Have you ever went dove hunting? I have not. That's a random question. Why are you asking that? I'm curious. Is that a very like, now this could be obviously just a funny thing to say. I don't know. Or you're telling me that dove hunting is very calming, and you know, I know there's a moment when you're out shooting, whether you're hunting or you're target shooting, there is that slowing down and just being in the flow and trusting, right? That when you pull the trigger. So I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but no, I've never went dove hunting. I'm not somebody who shoots at animals. Actually, I can't. It's not my thing. I don't have any judgment. I think there's times to, you know, for food or for certain things. I don't know. I just don't. I don't judge that way. I just personally don't shoot at living beings. But let me know what you meant by that. So yeah, slowing down is really one thing I've learned over the years of 10 years of research into ADHD. Um, Tanjil, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, my pleasure. I know it's a lot of information, but look, slowing down is really it's a process that takes years. I'm 55 and it took me 54 and a half years to realize, yo, man, you got to slow the fuck down. And now that I have not yet in 10 years come across any better medicine. I call it medicine um, for being someone that has supposedly these behaviors that we call symptoms that we label as ADHD, right? So for that, I haven't seen a better medicine of life than slowing down, because it's almost like slowing down opens up this like bag of things that needed to come up, right? Like when I slowed down, I had to face my own addiction. I had to go through a divorce. I had to learn how to be on my own again, because I'd always lived with somebody since I've been like 20 years old. I'd always lived with a person. I had to learn, not because I had to be on my own, I actually wanted to be on my own to learn that it's okay to be alone. For a year and a half, I did that. Um, and it's amazing. I mean, if you haven't done that, and a lot of you probably have, but to be able to be okay with myself, to be able to be okay by being bored or not wanting to sit with my feelings, but doing it anyway, that is where the gold is at. Let's see. Dove hunting is where you shoot a dove with a shotgun. Yeah, I know that. I know that. But is that something that brings you peace, or are you inspired by that? Is that something you do? Tell me more about that. Yeah. So that's kind of what I wanted to share today. It's like, you know, slowing down is free. Slowing down is very accessible to anyone. Slowing down is not political, you know, it's not dangerous, it's not misinformation or disinformation. You have to have a hunting license. I believe that. Yeah, I guess it depends on what state, but maybe in most states in the US. Do you have a hunting license to shoot? Yeah. I got BB guns right here, but I don't shoot at things other than targets with my kids. But so yeah, slowing down is the free medicine. It's the one thing no one can take away from you. No one, right? You can be anywhere in the world and be like, I'm gonna slow down. I'm gonna not drink coffee because that gets me all hyped up. I'm gonna take on a less work. I'm gonna do more for my health. I'm gonna be more present with my kids. I'm going to eat slower and choose more healthy ingredients, right? All of it is slowing down. If we slowed down collectively as humanity, I guarantee you we would dissolve poverty, war, disease, politicians. But literally, we would be able to dissolve all of it, because it was all created in a frenetic, fear-based, anxious energy of people who think they don't matter and they need to be more because they think they're less. And so therefore they swirl in this frenetic energy and create these disorders and disease and wars and famine, and all of that, I believe, can be uh, is the medicine to make it all dissolve. Let's see, Sandra says, and I'm getting ready to go dove hunting with my dad today. Oh, cool. Well, if that's true, you're sharing something really cool, because you get to connect with your dad over a activity that you both share, right? That you both enjoy, I would imagine. And that's one thing I've learned. You make me think of a really good point to bring up, is that in parenting, like with my kids, my two boys, 13 and 16, it's one thing to just tell them, hey, do this, do that. Hey, you should believe this, or this is, what I've learned, like sort of like talk at them or educate them, versus being with them in an activity. It's really fun. That's cool. I like that you enjoy that, because then you're doing an activity together, and in that moment you're being connected, and you probably have moments where you share some really cool stories, and where even if you're not super connected, in my case, I wasn't with my dad. He was nice and whatever, it was fine, but not super deep. But you'll share these moments that you will remember forever. But I have to go right now. Thank you, Sandra. Have fun. Hopefully, I don't shoot any pigeons, but maybe, or doves, but maybe you do. But enjoy your time with your father. That sounds amazing, with your dad. Until next time, but we are very much infused by our surroundings. Yes. Bye, Sandra. What do I think about 9/11? Oh, that's a loaded question. But let me see if I can get there. But Tanjil says, but we are very much infused by our surroundings. Yes, you hit the nail on the head. By the way, in my book, ADHD is Over, coming out in 3 weeks, I think, I talk about that, how the surroundings is our environment, right? And it includes everything. It includes your parents, your peers, school, even the environment, as in like the air, nutrients, music, advertising. All of it is our environment. And you said we're very much infused by our surroundings. Yes, we are shaped. There's actually scientific studies that prove that the way the brain is shaped, like molded and wired, the neuroplasticity, right? The wiring of the brain is influenced through the environment. Hence, ADHD is not a disorder that's in your brain that just started on its own, that you were just born with. That's bullshit. That doesn't exist. It's through environmental influences that the brain gets wired a certain way, so you behave a certain way, that then gets labeled as a symptom, like hyperactive or inattentive, impulsive, that then gets labeled as a disorder, ADHD, right? But the cause of it is environmental, not, right? It's an issue of programming, not the hardware. Bruce Lipton says it that way. What do I think about 9/11? What do I think about 9/11? I mean, obviously it was horrific what happened. I do believe there's more than meets the eye, meaning I'm not a huge conspiracy theory guy, but looking at some of the evidence of what buildings look like when they're being demolished, when it's pre-planned, I think there was some shady business going on, but I can't prove it. I just feel bad, I rest in peace all the souls that had to die because of what some people call a black flag operation, or again a conspiracy that they needed to create that, something like that, to start a war. So it's me. So I probably have to get off here soon. But anyway, I really appreciate you guys coming on. I would say if you know anybody who has ADHD or is struggling with the diagnosis, or or has any questions, go to the website ADHDisover.com and check out, send me an email, and look out for the book ADHD is Over. It's going to be on Amazon, like I said, in about 3 weeks. I guarantee you it's the most compact, easy to read guide. It's 150 pages only. It's easy to read. Even if you think you have ADHD, trust me, this book you will devour. So thanks for listening, guys. Thanks to Tanjil, Sandra, Chrissy. I think we had someone else earlier. CB Buckner. I don't take advice from bald people. Hey, Here before. Of course, you should always take advice from bald people. Come on. Joe Rogan's bald, Dana White, right? God is wearing a wig, I'm sure. Thanks for listening. Never take advice from bald people. But shaved heads are okay. Bald people is different. Anyway, peace out. Have a good weekend, guys. Be well.